Hello, me lovelies. I'm just waiting for Bobby, and Cookie should be joining us as well to talk about a very important subject, which is DV, domestic violence, and the effect it has on people's lives. But hello, Jack. Hello, Easy. So, anyway, it's been a beautiful day where I am. Absolutely gorgeous today. So I've been out in the garden trying to get me wilderness under check. So just wait. If anyone's got any questions, then just let me know. What's parasomnia easy? I've never heard of that. Let's Google it. Oh, rapid eye movement. Oh, interesting. You learned something new. Never heard of that before. Are you Buffy? Are you Victoria? Oh, thank you, Thomas. Are you Pataya? Um, yeah, easy. Just told me a word that I didn't know. Condition parasomnia, which apparently when you're asleep, it's movements. Um, involuntary, well, it's always involuntary movements when you sleep, but movements that have a serious effect on the person. Are you positive vibes? Are you Cass? Are you Selkie? I'm just still waiting for us, say Bobby and Cookie to arrive. Yeah, are you Monk? It is interesting because I want to start doing stuff like this because you hear me talking all the time about the effects of how a person is brought up. Are you Cumbrian? Um, yeah, how the effects on a child, and you do see, you can't deny how a child's brought up, what they experience, what they see, not only in the family but outside the family, can have major effects on them. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So if anyone has got a story to tell about how the life was affected by the way they were brought up, and I say it doesn't just have to be about domestic violence. Is over controlling parents can be damaging. I've seen that happening when you've got an overbearing, either one parent or another parent that's overbearing. So it's and you usually find, and it is because I haven't worked with in the probation service with drug users and haven't worked in the police. You see a pattern, you can't deny it. When I used to always make a point when I'd be talking to people who were involved in, I say they were either victims of crime or they were perpetrating crime, and they were long time doing it, or they were on drugs or anything. If I had time, I'd sit down and I'd encourage them to tell me about the history, and it was like a blueprint. A blueprint, you could say, that they all had the same experiences in the family life. Well, the vast majority did, but I've always said you can get what I call a rogue person who they come from everything's perfect in the family. The social area they're brought up with seems perfect, and they'll just go off the rails. So um, you can never So say, I'm trying to find the right word for it. You can never judge it and say, oh, this is going to be turn out perfect. But lots of things, and that's what people need to get in their head. They condemn their children. And what's scary is when you look at, social media, YouTube, and you see all this violence going on. Are you CC? Are you Greengrass? And Gary Green, when you see all this violence and kicking off, and people wonder why always have something to say about it, it's because I'm sorry, it's scary because if that's happening online, I'm telling you now, that's happening in the background. And I've seen shows where people have been doing, like these live shows and all that. And you suddenly hear a child's voice in the background and the filth that's being spoken. Absolutely filth and the rage. And it's like that child is going to be affected by that and will grow up affected by it. And it's just, and you can see exactly which way it's going. So you're just banging up trouble for the poor child before they've even got it. Because I think the most precious to me, the most important and precious job on this planet is being a parent. You couldn't get anything more important. And all right, no one can be a perfect parent. That's true. We all know that. There's no such thing as a blueprint of the perfect parent. But my God, people should at least try to get some semblance of, being a responsible parent. Whereas when you see things that are going on in YouTube, you think, oh my God, you think, why did they ever have kids? But that is horrible when you hear filth and then you suddenly hear a child in the background. It's like, oh God, that child is hearing. And I don't know, you can be on YouTube for hours and then claim that when you come off YouTube, that you're a different person. I don't buy it. Even the greatest actor couldn't do a 3-hour, 4-hour stunt on YouTube and hide the real identity or do an act. So let's see. I hope Bobby turns up. He just said he was going to. Well, this is the problem I have, Selkie. When they start calling it banter or roasting or stuff like that, it's not. It's bullying, it's violence, it's hate speech, it's you name it. That's what it is. It's got nothing to do. And you usually find that when you roast them, they don't like us. Oh, then they go up in the air, don't they? They don't like it at all. Where is he? Where are you, Bobby? See, I don't want to put the link out because if I put the link out, it's like last one I did. Someone tried to jump on, and I feel terrible kicking them out. He's got the link, common man. Let's see. Let's get back on here because if I put it out, someone's going to start trying to jump on. Let's give us a second. Oh, I've gone into StreamYard again. Wait a minute. Oh, it's not. I'm going out to. Isn't it strange? It's in Instagram, but it's not going through. Just clicked on it. Sorry, Bobby. I wonder why you were late. Here, I've just put the link out. No, I thought I just looked at Instagram and clicked on it. I sent him the link, but it's not. I've just clicked. It doesn't actually bleed and work. That's why. Wonder why that is. So put the link there. But if anyone, I say, want to keep this isn't an open live, this one, so don't be offended if someone jumps on. They see the link in there and they jumps on and I remove you from the waiting area. Because that happened the other night and I felt terrible having to kick the fella out. Oh God, is this Yorkshire Bobby? No chance. No chance would you be Yorkshire Bobby. Hiya, Bobby, is the man himself. Sorry about that, Bobby. I just tried it in Instagram and the bleeding thing doesn't work, does it? The swine. But,
no, it wasn't on, no.
So
sorry about being late, honey.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry. That's all right.
Got to be in at 7 o'clock for an old case, so I try to make the most of it. So I'm literally just in. My beautiful mother made us a cup of coffee, so thank you, man.
Oh God, I like your cup. Mexican death thing. Yeah, great. It's brilliant. So, how are you doing anyway today? Yeah, I tell you what, you're looking healthy.
Well, I'm trying my very damn hardest, put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care. I tell the truth. I say how it is. My dad went back sort of down the way. So I'm getting phone calls at daft o'clock. He thinks there's people spying on him. People could laugh or whatever. To me, it's getting to me mentally because I need to go down. Now, he's in a very bad place from my brother passed away. So it's like the last couple of months, he was in a mental hospital.
Yeah.
I was trying to focus for the hardship fight. But he's up there and I was visiting and I was seeing people unwell myself, and I was like, so he's back to that way. So, I mean, I've just got to man up and try and help him. What else can I do? I know we fell past and him and my mum and back, but we built bridges about 11 months ago. I gave him one more chance to be a father. And I don't think it's his fault he's in the situation he's in, due to losing his son, obviously, and due to losing his 3 brothers, his mum and dad. So it's a lot. I feel like it's a ton of my shoulders that needs lifted off my shoulders, but I'll get there. I've got numbers of people in contact in that way.
The good thing is, Bobby, is that you got that chance because at my papa, now, there was no domestic violence in my family, and he was apparently, he could be violent in public, with other men. If he was riled, he could take on anyone. And apparently, I heard from a police officer when he was in the police, Bayside Police, he heard me say a name, and he said, they used to call me Papa Harry the Hat. I said, Harry the Hat. And he said, oh, we used to have many a box. He said, remember the officers have many a boxing match with them in the cells. And I didn't know all this. This was like, what? I said, this was a man that was all ballet and everything like that. I said, but apparently he was doing that. But I remember, because I was so busy working in the industry he wanted me to go into, and it was just, you didn't get a break. For years, from about the age of 12, it was like a distant relationship. I'd see him now and again. But then he went when I was 24. And I thought, I never had the chance to talk to him, get to know him. Or, so you're in a precious situation at the moment. You can get that.
Well, and that's pretty mad you've just said that, because I lost contact with my father for years due to what happened as a kid and whatnot. And that's where we actually met. I was in HMP Perth prison, and me and my padmate had caught. I went, obviously, in the morning, you get took on the G4S bus. He got bail. When I got back up to the jail, I got remanded for reports, social work background reports. Yeah. And the officer went, you've got a new padmate. Hadn't saw my dad in 10, 12 years. And they've opened the door, and there's my dad sitting. And I was like, Dad. And two of us just looked at each other, just burst out crying. And unfortunately, it was in out 3 different times, and I've shared the cell with my dad 3 different times. But yeah, that's when we met back up in the jail cell in HMP Perth prison. Crazy.
Yeah, no, that's such love. But I'll let people know how I faced. Well, I knew you were on because of this Fight Club and all that. I knew you were on YouTube and I'd seen you now and again. But the one that got me, I just clicked on something, I saw something, and you were arguing, or someone was arguing with you. Oh God, what's his name? I can't remember his name. But he was arguing with you anyway, and you were giving it back, and he sort of tried to make out that you were living in a scummy little flat and all this, and you were in all this business. And I remember at one point you turned around and said, and it was the way you said it, you said, yeah, I saw my mum being knocked about. And I thought, this man, meaning you, has just said that. Like I'd say, I'm going to the shops to get milk. And that's sort of like I thought, oh, that is so powerful what you said. And so I was always determined at some point to reach out to you and say, would you like to come on and discuss how, because I think this is vitally important, how a person's history you can't get away from it. It will affect them as they're growing up. So just as far as you're comfortable discussing, I'll let you start telling people your history and what you want to talk about today.
What do you want? The short versions up to
so we can get.
So I was brought up obviously in a place called Adler, Dundee. Very nice place now. Back then, still was good people, kind people. You've got like every area, you've got your ups and downs and whatever. So I was witnessing a lot behind closed doors, shall we say. My mum turned to drink because what she'd went through. So it got to a stage it was just me and my mum. So the older ones were always up stealing cars and up at the golf course and stealing the golf buggies and doing all-nighters back then. That was the thing, and you thought you were great. So I used to just go to the house whenever I wanted. If there was noise, music, I got scared, so I just used to jump out windows. Any way to get out, I'd get out. And I'd go with the older ones from about 9-year-old. I was always in a police cell. Every single, I got put on you know what this is, a supervision order. It means social workers kept us because it was erratic. So I was in a police cell why? Because some nights I deliberately went and got to the jail. I'm talking 9-year-old. I was going up and guys, I'll verify this is not a lie. I'm not to be proud of, but the point I'm making is, like, in Dundee, 1 in 5 women that go to Dundee's Women Aid suffering from domestic violence at the moment or domestic abuse. There was 33,425 charged reportedly in 2020 to around 2021, identified as being related to domestic abuse. So it's getting right at our hand. And yeah, so I was just up stealing cars, any excuse just to not go back home. Because it was either see my mum getting barred from ex-partners or whatever, not being able to do nothing because I was young, never had any siblings. I'm the only child with my mum. I've got brothers, as you probably know, lost my brother, as I was saying, so me and my dad. So it was very hard because my gran took a good shine to us because I think she saw the good in us. And I'll be honest with you, Anne, I was a little I was at off-site schools, ADHD, OCD, postmodern. Nowadays, that's what I'm diagnosed with, all that. But I think, listen, I could only blame myself for the stuff that I did. But could I blame my mum? Could I blame parents?
Well, when you say that, Bobby, how old were you? You said you were 9. You can't blame yourself. There's no way you can blame yourself.
Witnessing domestic abuse, domestic violence is domestic abuse to children, to the child that's witnessed it. You only like yourself.
Yeah.
But so I was getting in trouble quite a lot. My mum had the bottle in that, so I was doing what I wanted. It wasn't her fault. She's 15 years clean. She's my queen.
Brilliant.
We've only got each other. It's been a tough journey, the stuff I've witnessed and thought at times she was dead on that a couple of occasions when there was a kid. One of them was stayed in a multi-flat. I've got the lift up the night before. I stayed with my gran because my mum was partying or drunk somewhere. We couldn't find her, so we were scared. I went up to the house, got up in the elevator, number 10, got out, turned left in the wee squarey bit in the multi-bit. D, I think it was. And there was a puddle of blood right outside my door. Yeah. And it was only me and my mum, so I'm thinking, it's got to be my mum. And it was the neighbours across. There was about 10 of them, stamping on her head with big their boots on. And she was took away in an ambulance and severely hurt. And see, when I turned and saw that blood, it was like, it burst out crying and ran back in the elevator. It was like a horror scene. The concierge and that were waiting on it. They saw us on the camera. It was screaming and got to the bottom and they went, look, this is what happened. Well, I was a bit young, but I knew a few of them and they knew what was going on behind closed doors. So they used to say, okay, boy, blah, blah, blah. So they told us, I was sort of clued right up for my age because it was always told to my dad and that side of the family not to ever speak to the police at a very young age.
Yeah.
The police used to take me away when I was 9, 10-year-old in their cars up to the golf course in the dark when my father was on the run. They used to say, where's your daddy? And make me cry and that. So you'll go to prison. There's all that. My lawyers want to file social services. But this is what I mean, domestic abuse and witnessing domestic abuse and domestic violence. This is what at least to the kid, either you don't get your education, definitely. I don't care what anybody says because the problems at home, I was going to school and thinking I was Jack the Lad and that, but when I think back now, I should have stuck in. But this is what happens, it's part and parcel. If you're brought up in that environment, it's going to give you less educational options, personal disorders, substance abuse, culture, attitudes, gender, ideologies, or something, you know what that means, low self-esteem and struggle with anger management and security. Yeah, so it's not...
Well, one thing you said, the education, I mean, I don't know how you're supposed to concentrate on going to school when you're terrified. And this is the thing that I want to stress, the fear. Now, when a child, now I'm lucky in one respect, I can remember what it used to feel like if I ever felt fear as a child. And I don't know, it's because of this high level autism I've got or not. I can remember things, emotions very clearly. And I can remember, to me, adults were always scary, big giants. Even though none ever hurt me, I was never hurt by any adults. But they were always big, monstrous giants. I remember if my papa got annoyed with me, actually, I'm taller than him now, when he was so like, but to me, he looked like this thing, this big giant, and he'd sort of like, wouldn't go at me, he'd say, what are you up to and all this business? And I'd be looking up at him. The fear I used to feel was, the way I can put into words as an adult is, these big monsters could kill me and I couldn't do it. They could kill me now. It was like facing a lion. That's how I viewed adults back then. And that's the fear. But if you're actually seeing all that violence, you must have been sitting there thinking, that's going to happen to me next. You know, and I'm going to get that beaten, or I'm going to get treated like that. And schooling, no, that's going to take a back burner. That there's no way you can concentrate. It's survival. That's what you'll be concentrating on. And another thing, Bobby, about, if I'll ask you this, see if my theory on this is true. Because I think this happens with a lot of people. Because don't forget, you're a victim, like a victim of sexual abuse as a child. Violence is, people think it's just sexual, that's the one and only. No, physical violence and narcissism. Someone mentioned narcissistic parents. Narcissistic parents and also can be very damaging. Now, when that happens and you've got this pressure on you from any side, I always say that person starts trying to, that child will be bright in one way, very bright and develop bright in one single way. They'll quickly be able to assess whether someone's a danger to them or not. And they're trying to double guess the monster. and that's it. It's the monster going to
Bang
turn.
on.
Yeah, can I keep the monster happy so it doesn't turn on me? And I always say that. So I bet you're a person that you can quickly, when you meet someone, assess, is this person going to be dangerous to me?
10 seconds, 15
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah,
You could come in the room, hey, yeah, blah, 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 and I could think, and
yeah,
9 out of 10, and bang on.
yeah. Definitely. It's almost like a sixth sense because it's a survival sense. And this is why I always say people tend to think of children, especially very young children, oh, aren't they cute and all this? When a child's put in a situation, and too many are, where they feel like the survival and safety is a threat, you'd be amazed how their brain will think basically like a detective and say, I've got to avoid this. How do I avoid it? It's and it's horrible because it takes your child. There's no childhood there then. Just no childhood at all.
No, I definitely agree with you, and there's definitely no childhood whatsoever. I mean, I could remember days, Christmas mornings, playing by myself and stuff like that. And I could also remember good times, obviously, but it's a generational thing in my family, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think my father got, not sexually abused, but
Yeah.
battered constantly, more than the rest of them. They got a wee slap, he got supposedly beaten.
Yeah, this is it, Bobby. I'm telling you now, that's another important factor you just mentioned, is that the history of the parent as well, because he's saying, oh, the parent, and all this. But I remember my papa was brought up, my grandfather was very, very strict. I never met him. He was passed away before I was born. But what I heard about him, but in those days, back then, it was spare the rod, spoil the child, and they were brutal. They'd get a belt you. And people think that was a good thing. That's how you bring up children. But it was obvious that my paternal grandfather, had mental health issues when you think back. Because when I think back how he was described, I thought there was definitely bipolar there, and there was definitely something going on, because I could tell the things he did. We were told he was doing. But so I remember my papa he'd have a temper. He'd more or less shout and then quickly calm down. He'd control himself. But I can only 3 times he ever smacked me. Once was when I wet the bed when I was about 5 years old. And honestly, he mimed slapping me bottom. It was a mime. Even as I was put over slapping, I was like, it's like that slap. It was just that the noise he was making. But then another time he had a reel-to-reel recorder, very expensive one back then, and he worked in the theatre, and these reel-to-reels were really expensive back then, this top grade. And I decided I wanted to play with parts of it, and bleeding broke the thing. So I got a slap across the face, but it was just like a slap. But the worst one, and you couldn't curse in my household. Oh, my father would, even though he was a Scouser and he was a real Scouser like that, he would not tolerate cursing or bad language. He wouldn't tolerate it at all. And I thought, I'll give you a clue, twit. You know the word twit? Well, I said the other word, not knowing. I thought it meant twit, the crude word.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, I suddenly found myself flying across the room. He'd slapped me across the face and flew right across the room. And my mum went absolutely. She didn't go mad in front of me, but I knew she'd done it afterwards. But she picked me up and she said, right, she said to him, she said, go on, she said, on your way, she said, go on. You need to go for a walk. And he was all like distraught and all that. But that was the most I ever saw. So that's one smack. That was like, oh, God, what happened here? I can't imagine living in a situation where that's normality. I can't imagine what that does to your head, that this is normality. And I feel shamed because I held that against my papa for a long time. Years. I was like, oh, not that I hated him for it, but it was like, oh, how brutal. And then when I actually started working for the probation service and started working for the police, it woke me up, and I thought, "Are you kidding me? He tickled me." To what I saw people coming in and the life stories they had, Bobby, like yours, it was like, what am I complaining about?
Mine's
Absolutely.
got deep. My mum's been for certain exes, and that's just been stuff that I don't feel comfortable saying, but
Yeah.
very
Okay.
locked in cupboards and stuff like made to pee herself. And I used to get made to laugh at her when she used to be all blood
Yeah.
and that, when it was just through there now, it's just my soulmate. See, if, like when I had my drug habit and I was jail, she was the only person who sent money up, trainers up,
Yeah.
jobs up, visits,
Yeah.
leaving herself short for bread, milk, and that.
Yeah.
So she's made up for it in a big, big way. Most
Yeah.
mums would walked away 10 foot, and they have, and my old associates, nine times out of 10, their families have walked away. But I don't think, when I think back, there wasn't no one living in a broken household out of me and my squad growing up.
Yeah.
As I say, I was getting detained. I would think an excuse, even if the boys, older boys, they'll know who they are. When I was stealing cars, I'd sneak out with a screwdriver and get caught deliberately so I could sleep in Bell Street instead of going home to the noise, to hear my mum
Yeah.
getting hot for men. And she was vulnerable, very vulnerable, but music playing loud and things getting smashed, and you're in your bed,
Yeah.
that with a cover over your head, and
Yeah.
you just want your mum. And as I say, just flying 15 in the air and something just been off alcohol. But that's what led to sending her on alcohol.
Well,
She's got a broken back. A guy locked her in the house. Intimidated her sexually. He says, "I'll be back. You're going nowhere." So off he went and locked the door and took the key. So my mother's tried to escape. She's opened the window, stepped out, and just slipped. And at the bottom there was a square drain. Used to get them up here. People know what I'm on about, the old tenements. You used to have the square drains, bang, right on that. And I remember getting told that she was in hospital fighting for her life, and I also got told that it was my uncle Ian at the time. He passed away. I got told that it was Sandy, the dog's name was, that pulled her down the stairs. So when I went up, I got told it was her legs on. So I went, "Mummy, did I see your legs?" And I remember clear doing that with the cover. And when I think back, there was none of matter with her legs, obviously. I got told you'll never walk again, probably. So that was pretty hard as well. That was the icing on the cake. My mum went, the social work services went, "He's on a supervision order, he's 18, because he's erratic and blah, blah, blah." Then it was never up to the police cells. She got herself clean. Then that's me just sorting myself out in December for good. The longest I've been out of prison. But it's not a good life.
Oh, no, of course it's not. But again, you're
You
a
don't hear
product.
males speaking about getting abused, but believe it or not, people could laugh, but listen, I'm a man that could walk these streets loud and proud. I've had a girlfriend that's, people will know this. It's not, I'm smiling, I'm not, maybe it's nervous, like, that's threw coffee on me. I was making a cup of coffee. The kettle was on. I had a brand new white joggy on from my ex, and my daughter just went like that right over the joggy. Broke my fingers in the door because the chain was on. There's videos on TikTok, I think it was, but yeah. But listen, I told everybody. I says, don't be scared. What you meant to do, all I done that was grabbed that, because I've witnessed it all my life. And see what my problem is? When I meet a girl, I tell a girl straight away, because I'm that kind of guy. I'm like, "Look, I witnessed, blah, blah, blah." I don't get right into detail. I'm an advocate for domestic abuse. My mum's my queen. Some girls that I've been with, believe it or not, it's just true. I've had to end it with them because they're jealous over me when it was a relationship. If my mum doesn't go on me then, I'm like, then they speak about her, I'm like, well, I'm sticking by my mum. If relationships have thingied, because if they're jealous because of how the bond we've got.
Yeah. So when did that bond start kicking in? Because there must have been times when you hated your mother. I'd imagine that would be a natural response when you're thinking, well, wait a minute, because we naturally think that your mother's going to protect your shield you, don't you? And it's not. I know it's not that easy, as what I'm.
Well,
Like,
well,
you
Miss
think that.
Shield was my grandmother. She done a lot. If I wasn't in care, if I wasn't in secure units, Rossi Farm, Pullman, all this, every off-site school you can name in Dundee, whatever. My gran done a lot. When I wasn't in care or behind bars, it was me. My gran, she used to get me the best of everything, leave herself short. Like, my gran was special. My gran was
Yeah,
special. Like, she had to deal with her daughter, obviously, then taking me in as well. And she gave me the best of everything, even though my mum used to phone drunk and shout at my gran, and I used to get the phone, Mummy, please stop that. And I just wanted my mum. I just wanted my mum back. That's what. And
yeah,
obviously, when I think back now, and I'm like, wow, it's the odd £20 that I've stole at her purse while she was clean, while I would, before I got my shit, just in the past, the money I bought, and I'm like, that's a bloody shame. My mum's not like we've got a lot of money at hand. We're staying in a comfortable house and that, yeah. I get one of the best dairies in Dundee, but that's not a bought house. But that's what the point I'm getting to is my gran. So my gran was always on the phone, and it was my gran as well that finally got my mum to be assessed the day before she passed away. So that was great. So my mum always says to us, and she went, look, son, she went, I messed up in the past and that. I went, Mum, listen, no, you had to go through that with ex-partners and when you were with my dad and whatever. She went, just get clean before I die. I'm 56 now. She went, I took a mild a stroke, heart attack. Just please get clean. I want me to see. So that's how I'm still heading on. You see, and because I keep myself to myself, be a small circle, people send me links on, and it's like they're saying that I'm taking this. How would they know? Are they sitting with me? My mum's teetotal, whatever, but it's like why? How would you know this? And what? It's crazy. It's like what using and Dundee you don't know what to do.
yeah.
It's like it's
You
crazy.
see, this it's you don't, and this was say, and I find that with you actually when I've seen you in the past in your videos, people come and you've had a lot of slating, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
you've just had it in the from someone in we were putting time out in the chat, and if he's not careful, he's going to be blocked because it's not the platform or the time to start your nonsense, right? And that's say those in glass houses should think before
and
throwing
they can
stones.
say what they want because
But it was just one person. But the this is it. You've had it, but I've noticed that when you do get, and I've seen you in your videos where people rant and rage and go on, you go into a calm zone and just say it. And I think that's a product of what you've been through. Because would it be right in saying that you've realised that if you are in a situation which is getting volatile, that you've realised that kicking off is not going to get you the response you need?
no,
Yeah,
no.
because
Trying to
it's
find myself the person on being off drugs and just trying to digest me properly, trying to get out my system as well the debate we're having now. It's terrible. There's a group in Dundee, the Women's Aid. If any women are struggling out there, they're supporting victims for almost 40 years. So they're they're a good. That's a good place to go if you're behind closed doors because I know it happens quite a lot. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed couples screaming at each other when I was on drugs, kids screaming with no food. And he's saying to her, the whole money's getting spent on blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's not to do with me, hardly noise, but what about your kids? Oh, I'll sort someone out. And I'm like, then you go a couple of days later, the kids are, you're going with chocolate or whatever, the kids are right at you. It's a shame. It's like, what? I know that's not, but it's part of domestic abuse, is it? And I know it's
oh
drugs
yeah,
as well, but happens in Dundee so bad, so much.
yeah. This is people don't people think that domestic violence or domestic abuse is slapping someone around. It's no ways that. I mean, one of the most damaging.
I
I
know
mean,
that.
horrific ones is, as I said, someone said narcissistic abuse.
Yeah,
That can get a child's person out. That can turn a perfectly healthy child totally psychotic, and they'll for years and years and years be in therapy trying to get away without a narcissistic. And that's why I say people have to be very, very careful what they say around children, because you don't know that one word, that one sentence that's going to totally change. Look, you get the famous example when you get a young girl and one of the parents keeps on going on, oh, you're fat, you're getting fat, you're eating too much chocolate. Then guess what? 20 years down the line, they're dead of anorexia. You have to be very careful. And I'm not saying it's easy, because I'm not a parent, I haven't got kids. I'm not saying it's easy. And when I've been in the presence of family members' children or neighbors' children or whatever, I can see it's stressful. I'd be like, I say, so, oh God, I couldn't put up with this, because it's like a 24 now. You don't take a break from being a parent. It's 20. I used to say, oh, ballet was, 24/7 and you couldn't take a break from it. But when you see a parent, that really is 24/7. You can never stop it. And you'll never always get it right. And of course, what we forget as well is that just because someone's a parent and because they're an adult doesn't mean that they magically know to do everything correct. They still feel like human beings. And of course, you've got to look at what that person, what your mama, what her history was, what your papa's history was. So when they brought up, and it's not so easy to say, well, they should know better. No, sometimes when it's your emotions, especially when it's related to anger, Bobby, I say this, when it kicks off with anger, it takes a lot of work for someone. It's like saying, don't blink. Oh, don't don't blink. If you're made that way, and you've been made that way by your experiences, that you'll respond with violence. Someone saying, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. It's like saying, well, don't blink, stop blinking. You can't. It's an emotion, and it's got to be controlled. And that's why I'd say, no, you were talking about alcoholism and your mother's trying all this. Now, that's a lot of people say alcoholism is they'll either call it a disease or a condition or whatever. But that's the same with someone's temperament as well.
Yeah.
You can just be testosterone, and this is what we don't get told about, right? Testosterone has a huge effect on men. Huge effect it does. And we all know what it's like, because, I mean, when I was a teenager, I not only had testosterone, I had the estrogen as well kicking in when I was 13, which caused absolute havoc. But I remember sometimes I used to think I could kill someone. I can just get up and kill someone, because your hormones are just raging through your body. So people have got to understand it all aspects of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well, and I know you'll know this statistic, but in March 2018, a third of women were killed by their ex-partner, 33% to 63 homicides, which is the fewest number of women killed in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Crazy. Always educate myself on this matter, because
well, that's good.
Pass this experience on, and it gets a lot deeper, and it gets deep.
Oh yeah. Dark. Well, that's why it's good doing things like this, Bobby, and talking about it, because it needs speaking about, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Because we're living in a society right now. I say this, it is the internet age, and you see it, people kick off, and the threat. We've all seen it, threatening each other. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I always say it's not adults anymore. It's willful teenagers stuck in adult bodies, and they're going on like kids. My mouth is dropping, thinking, that's a parent, that's an adult, and they're acting like that. And they don't check themselves. They don't think, oh, do I look like an absolute plum doing this? Yeah. They carry on like that. So that's what's creating it. We're selfish now. In other words, it's me. Now, one side effect of me, what I want. I don't like that, so I'm going to kick off. I don't want you doing that. I'm going to kick off. The side effect of me is what I've just been saying before, narcissism. And narcissists do not like other people not doing what they want them to do. And that's why you're getting those statistics going up and up. And there's another thing that's going to be spoken about, which is usually not touched on. And that is people who go into relationships. And I used to have this all the time with the police. You'd get a young girl coming in. She'd been attacked by a boyfriend. And I'd always ask the question, I'd say, well, what made you go with him? Because we'd know he'd have a long record of violence and all this. He was a wide boy and all this business. And I'd say, so what attracted you to him? I love him and all this business. And I'd say, no, what attracts you? I love him. And so I'd get real with them. Then they talk to me like they wouldn't talk to a normal officer because they used to see the feminine coming out of me. So they'd calm down with me and talk to me. And then we'd get to the point and I'd say, he was a bad boy and you found it exciting, didn't you? And it's like, yeah, I did find it exciting. And I said, well, the problem with bad boys is what attracted you to him is the thing that will turn around and make you scared of him. Because said when you want to walk away, he will want you to walk away. And there's also the situation where what they call the daddy complex. A woman wants a daddy figure, but a strict daddy figure. And that's where it runs into problems. And it's like, where does that stem from? It's because the socially brought up like that. The best favor a parent, male or female, can do for their child, a daughter, especially daughters, because it does happen more to women. I know it happens to men, but it's more women that it happens to. Make your daughters independent.
Yeah.
They don't need to rely on a man, and they don't have to be led by the heart as such, the head as well. We need to get back to the balance of the old system where people actually, before they got married, they'd start thinking, is this a viable, like a business it would be years ago. Of course, you need love, but you know what? Love goes so far. But when you get knocked about or you get financially abused or whatever, say, it's not always easy to say goodbye, and that's the message that gets through. But they need to train the young girls. They have to be able to survive on their own. In other words, if anything goes wrong, they can walk out the door. Financially, they're secure. They've got somewhere to go. And that's what needs to happen. Say, yeah, if you want to fall in love, but have your own bank account, have your own get out clause, because the most stupid, biggest mistake any woman can make is think, oh, I'm in love, and expect that the man's going to look after her. Doesn't always happen. And that's why you get these statistics probably going higher and higher and higher.
I would also advise, as you're saying there, if you're getting a relationship, etc., always make sure you've got your own house. My mum's always taught me that.
Yeah.
Because you know on yourself, getting through out quite, like, it happens quite a lot, actually, as you know, people getting through out. The last time I was in prison, I was saying to everybody on, like that now, whatever, what you back in for as you do, whatever. 97 or 98% of people were in for domestics. Or I could not believe it. There was people doing 110-day items on petition. You'll know what that is, because you were an officer. And I'm like, what happened? And he's like, well, we're just arguing in the street, blah, 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 blah. The police got a phone. And I was like, wow. So that HMP Perth in Dundee, that's chock-a-block to be domestic violence and domestic abuse, and even just an argument. It's rife. And now in prisons, well, in Dundee, Scotland anyway, it's sort of half okay to go about beating women and that nowadays. So I've been told, as long as you're on a prescription of some sort, you're okay to walk about in halls. Years ago, if you came in, hit a girl or a woman, we took off the numbers pretty quick, whether it be somebody with a coffee jar in the shop, hitting them, or whatever. People know. But nowadays, they're getting to walk about with the so-called big people for Dundee and whatever. But as long as you're on something that gets you a wee bit high, you could be in for rape or whatever. So whatever, and you're okay. I've been told that there's people walking about, and because it all comes up to drugs, and I was absolutely shocked.
Bobby, I tell you what, man, I don't want to insult anyone, no Scotland or anything like that. I remember when I was in the Merseyside Police, and I'd be talking to and you'd have Scottish officers there who say with the Scottish Police in Scotland, and I'd be going on, oh, the corruption is terrible and all this, which it is in England, the corruption's terrible. and they turn around, they'd say, I'm talking about in the establishment, not the people, the establishment I'm talking about now, the politicians and the police themselves, and they'd say,
Yeah.
you haven't got a clue. And they said, they said, we hear in England about all this, things like grooming gangs being covered up and violence and drugs being covered up by the police, so that it doesn't give a bad effect to the area and all that. They said there's places in Scotland, they said the politicians are making sure that the news doesn't get out. So what that means is that when anyone is getting involved in anything like that, the response is to try and ease the numbers by either not doing it in something or recording it as something else. And that's a terrible thing. So you can imagine what the statistics are like. I mean, it happens in England as well, but I got told by these Scottish officers, they said it's horrendous. They said take what happens in England, they said, and stretch it out. They said because the politicians want it to be kept under wraps, the problems that are going on. And so they said the easiest way to do that is to just, as I say, domestic violence or drugs, it's reclassified as something else when they're charged, or it's just totally ignored. It's horrendous. It is absolutely horrendous. And that makes it go on more and more and more because people are confident. But tell you the thing with the police and the I found, it's rubbish now. Well, it always was rubbish, let's face it. That people have this idea that there was a golden age of police, and there never was. I mean, it went from having thugs in police force just going, we were as bad as the criminals themselves or worse.
Yeah.
And you can still get that now, to now just being like the mamby-pamby. It's like, something has to change. But yeah, you're right. When you get into the statistics of how it's increasing, it's a lot. And the death rate, as you say, this people got to bear in mind. And of course, you hear, and we have to get this in perspective as well, you hear about these children who are dying. Now, the parents might not be beating each other up, but we've heard about these children who are neglected, and then it hits the news, my God, the social workers, the police did nothing. That's domestic violence as well. That leads to death and murder. But what's your thoughts on that, Bobby? The idea that, I can't get this. 2 parents, not just one. 2 parents. Oh, you get one parent that's abusing the child to the extent that the child dies, and it's happening over months, and the other parent knows it. I can't fathom that. I can't.
Yeah. It's absolutely disgusting, to be honest with you. It's absolutely.
I think
at the highest level. I'm not ashamed to admit my past. I'm an open book. I've woke up people in this area who, when 14-year-old, I used to get myself in some states, and a couple of girls have abused me, women.
Yeah.
But in 46, whatever, back in the day. So I know what it's like. I had to explain to my mum. I had to think about getting the police for the very first time in my life. Believe it or not, and that's when I was on the supervision order. I think I just got served. It was in the Sun newspaper. Asbrook, I think it was a 15-year ban I got for this area. And I think that was about that time. So yeah, it's happened to us now a third time, not December past, but the December before that. After that. So that was for somebody pretty close, we'll just say. And it's a shame on my mum, because this we're speaking about on this subject. My mum sits in her room and whatever. She's got her comforts and whatever, but when I go for it, sometimes it'll just be like that white. And I'm like, Mum, do you want a cup of tea? She'll go, Mum. She'll go, oh, yeah. So, and I'm like, do you want to go for a bit of exercise? She'll go in the back garden, she'll do her planting, she'll put plants here and water them, whatever. And I try and say, Mum, let's go for a wee walk. I'm mentally not well, but listen, I've pulled my socks up in the last 6 months, so I'm trying my hardest, but it's easier said than done. She's had ex-partners that have done bad stuff to her, to the very worst of the worst. So I know what it's like.
I shot therapy. Sorry, Bobby.
Yeah. Just yeah. But now we've got to the stage where they've just sort of left her. They've left me as well. My psychiatrist hasn't been in touch. I had to actually reach out and whatever. The same with workers and that. But see, to be honest with you, in Dundee Tayside, everything seems to, even the statistics, the death statistics, I know we're on about domestic violence, but even that, and just that's leading to domestic violence and domestic abuse. I'm seeing people, well, when I was on drugs, shouting about, I get paid back. A couple, and they've got kids, as I say, and they're spending the money a whole lot on Class A's.
Mm.
And the kids are screaming, nappies and dirty nappies, we'll just call them. It's what you say,
Yeah.
S-H-I-T-E, and I'm looking going, wow, but Bobby, what are you doing in this life, man? I'm on
Yeah.
about cleaning houses and here, and you're like, whoa, it was crazy. And that's when I was telling my mum, open my eyes and went, wow, this is
Yeah.
unbelievable. What people with their kids
Yeah. Well,
with
this.
drugs. These kids are witnessing them even
Yeah.
taking the drugs. They're taking drugs and the kids are, and I'm thinking, wow, that's like I'm on about bad stuff, like taking
Oh
drugs.
yeah.
And the kids are there, and it's like it's nothing. It's just like you're making a cup of tea, and it's like,
Exactly,
oh
Bobby.
my god, oh my god.
This is it. And you know, Bobby, I used to see it all the time, and especially when I went through the probation, it was always so me parents doing it. And when people think that weed is harmless around children, just because not every one of the parents was into hard drugs, they'd be smoking weed. But that's also like gave a normalization to it. Now,
Yeah,
I'm not saying ban weed because I'm one of these people that think, you've got to have, as long as it doesn't alter the person's brain or the perception, you've got to and to me, if you would say what to ban, weed or ban alcohol, I'd say ban alcohol because I'm sorry, alcohol does a hell of a lot more damage than what drugs do. And that's even hard drugs, it does much
that's a
worse
fact.
damage in society. It
Yeah,
does.
yes,
It's
totally
just
agree.
terrible. But yeah, they was always the same thing. Oh, I saw my parents, and that was normalizing it for them. But again, people they kid themselves, say, "Oh, my child doesn't know. Don't do it around them." No, you do. They do know. You'd be shocked what parents know. How many of us, right, when we were little kids walking around, our parents don't know. We saw them with no clothes on because we peeped through a crack in the door or something. Now, your parents don't know that. So you're smoking or you're taking drugs, but they don't care now. It's like children, society's gone absolutely from what it was, though there was never a golden age, I say, but in the past, Bobby, right, and I've said this again and again, there were rules. People came into this world, the men were expected to go out to work, the women were as well. You don't get told that women were expected to go into, don't forget this dream world, only people with money the mother stay at home and raise the kids. So they had to go to work, but they were establishing, men especially had a purpose. And the purpose was they had to go, and it was a terrible shame on someone if they weren't going out to work then. Now, of course, you haven't got the jobs now. But what's happened is you see in society getting that the normal now is to not aspire to getting a job for some people. And that's the tragedy of it. And that's where it all starts unhinging because a child needs to see a purpose and needs to see the parents doing that. You'll grow up, what it is, look, as they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So you'll start developing like your parents developed. The only reason I had a very strong work ethic was because both my parents had a strong work ethic, and so it was instilled into me. That's what you do. You go out there, you earn your money, you do what you're told, no matter how hard it is. That's all going now. It's going, and I'm not blaming the people themselves for it. It's society. It's what the governments are doing. The governments aren't providing a framework, and I don't care. I don't blame people when they're told, oh, here we are, go work in this place, shifting bottles all day for a pittance, just a bit more than they get on the dole. I don't blame. Turn around saying, "Go and shove us." Why should they be slave labor like that? No way. So I do. It's not an easy problem, but there's not that stability now, Bobby, that there used to be. And also, people change partners like that. That was frowned upon in the past.
Man, sorry to interrupt, but see, the biggest reward of your life is people have got to understand this. If you're putting your kid through this behind closed doors, you've got a job and you're coming home drinking a bottle of wine and you think no one knows, and there's not a bit of the best feeling in the world is getting your mum back from seeing what she was went through, the beatings, the everything with the drink, and then at the end of it, she gets herself sorted, and every day I just look at him. I don't know what I'm going to do without her, because
you've just said
I'm too protective of her mama.
That's what I was going to say. You've adopted the parent role, and I was funny enough. Just you said you don't know what you'll do. I was thinking that when you were talking about your mama, I thought this is going to lead to when and if everything's right, a parent should always go before the child. That's what nature intended. You see, you've taken over now the parent role basically by what you're saying. And the problem with that is you're trying to cling on, but all that I can say to you, and I loved my mama, and it was horrible when she went, but I've never wished her back, because I firmly believe we do continue. What we continue, where we go, but we continue. I firmly believe that. But the only advice I'd give Bobby, if you don't want to get into that situation where you're going to be absolutely hitting the floor with grief, you've got to understand as well, your mother or anyone else, you love them, you care for them, but you're no good to anyone or yourself unless you're strong yourself and putting yourself first. I would greatly put yourself first, because the stronger you are, the more help you are to your mama or anyone else around you. That's the first thing. And you've got to address this issue of what happens when that emotional, because you invest in emotional support in your mama, you've got to really start saying to yourself, well, what, not in a morbid way, but saying, and even talking with her about it. Because I tell you now, if you turn around to your mama now and said, oh, I'll be grief-stricken and all that, she'll say, don't be so stupid, you get on with your life. I bet you that's the attitude she'll have, and it's what everyone has. Like, you've got to get on with your life. Don't go worrying about me. And another thing, Bobby, right? When people say, oh, I don't know what I'll do when they're gone, guess what? You just have to. There's no other option. You have to get on and do it and cope. And it is a yearn, and you'll sit there, and it's like it gets easier to cope with. It certainly does get easier to cope with. But as you get older, the funny thing is you start thinking, well, it's not going to be long now before we're together again, and it's a holiday. But you have to be careful of, I say, that you put yourself first and get yourself in order and get yourself straight, because you don't want your mama to go and then suddenly you're crashing right down again. And death is natural. It's the order of things. And you wouldn't want, and there's nothing to think, you wouldn't want any parent or anyone you love to go on and live and live and live and live and live for years, because that just leads to decrepit suffering. And it's just that way. So if you're doing anything to try and prepare, this sounds awful, I'm saying prepare for your mamas, but it's a constant.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's why I went back to the church. I'm trying to build structure so I could deal with certain things, and things from the past. Obviously, I have a couple of good bad nightmares every week. Like my mum was just telling us that she's been coming through during the night. I've been screaming when I fall asleep watching something like Netflix, or even in my room, she'll come in, wake us up and go, you okay? And I'll go, what is it? And she'll go, you were screaming. Or so, and I know what I'm seeing in my head, and that quite a lot. I've told psychiatrists, most people think I've been off my head, but this has been going on for years, and it's just something that I've put to the back of my mind. But and I've got to be strong for others around us at the minute. Like my dad, I've just lost my wee brother. All my family, they're all gone. But yeah, it's just fellowship groups. I've got my own one, but when I'm ready, I thought after the Hatchet fight I was going to do this and I'm ready to do that, but I just fell back, and I'm still obviously active doing exercise, but mentally, I'll admit that. There's a tough wake up, and sometimes you're like, what's the point? Like my mum says it a few times as well, and she's like that the other day. Life's boring, blah blah blah. But it's just what I'm like, Mum, so I'm trying to keep her positive. And
do you
understand that? She wake up in the morning, I'll go somewhere, I'm peed off, and I'm like, how? Just the same stuff every day in my room. And I'm like, please just go out and water the plants, put seeds in the ground. So we'll go up in the backs together, and we're not the sun for us, with the rain up here anyway. That's the only time. Apart from me going out, obviously, for jogs and whatever, and getting my mum, I was in the back garden, but I got out the other day to walk down to the shop and around a wee bit, but even that.
See, the thing is, though, Bobby, when you get older as well, things do get boring. It's just a fact of life. Things do start slowing down and getting boring, and you just have to live with it and put up with it. But also, as I say, and I'll stress it again, you're number one, then you can help your mama, you can help anyone, and staying positive for people. Now, these where you say you're waking up with, they're trauma-based dreaming. That's what it is, trauma. In other words, it hasn't been dealt with. You haven't dealt with it at all. What do they call it? Oh, God.
I've not been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Now,
shall I tell you how serious?
I got set on fire as well. Sorry to interrupt. I got set on fire. I was 40 and I fell asleep in a house party. People know this for this area. Got a lighter fluid poured up my stomach. When I woke up, I thought I'd been stabbed to death. And I've been screaming. My boxer shorts were melted to my stomach. I've got my scars, I've got all the marks and that. That was really, really traumatizing. That was really short.
Well, what you've got to understand, Bobby, as well, it's easy to say no post-traumatic stress disorder and just say it off the top of people's heads. That actually was originally called, oh God, what's it called? Shell shock during the First World War, when you'd get the bombs going off and it would traumatize the soldiers, and they'd be like this if they heard any noises, they'd really be bad. And that's how serious it is. It's not a light subject. So what you're literally suffering from what soldiers in the First World War and the Second World War used to suffer when there'd be a bomb going off right next to them and it would totally screw the minds up. That needs to be dealt with. You really do need to deal with that, because if you're still doing it, it's not being dealt with, and you need to get to the bottom of that issue, because it's easy. I don't have your doctors turn around and say, no, yeah, you've got this, then that's it. And this is what can happen a lot of the time with mental health. These mental health things, they just don't give you the appropriate. I think because they see so many people, it becomes like, yeah, there's one tick off, and then the situation isn't dealt with. But also, another one which I think you'd benefit from is there's a system. And I use this in the Merseyside Police with people who were very traumatized or were suffering from suicidal thoughts. And it's the living in the present moment, or what people call mindfulness. It goes under various issues. And that is, you say to yourself, you've got a past, which you do.
Yeah.
Which you want resolved, and you want to put in its box and put a bow on it. Sometimes that can't happen, Bobby. Sometimes things happen in life and there's no answer to it. There's no resolution to it. It has to be left as it is.
Yeah.
And the only way to cope with that is to say, well, nothing's going to happen about this. And it can be something we've done to someone. It can be something someone's done to you. And there's no way of resolving it. So what they say is, you live in the present moment. You say, where am I now? What am I doing now?
Yeah.
And when I say in the moment, I mean the second, the moment. We're talking now. So this is all that matters. Your past isn't here. Your future's not here. It's only the present moment. And you'd be surprised the effect that has when people do that, get into mindfulness. And it's not all, you get people going into meditation and being mindful. Look, you don't need to do all that. And keeping it up is only some people can keep it up. Most people can't. But it's like say that you start getting anxious or you start thinking about something or something starts really playing on your mind. All that you do is make yourself a cup of tea, whatever, cup of coffee or a meal, and you concentrate fully on what you're doing, the drink and the taste and everything. And you start getting yourself zoned into the now as it is now. And you'd be surprised. I've seen people who are literally on the floor ready to take their own life. And they've done it in no time at all. They've been able to cope. But another proviso with that is that people around you have to stop you talking about the past as well at that moment. This is only when you're in a situation where it's upsetting you or it's stressing you out or it's affecting your mental health. People around you have to say, I used to say to people, when someone was struggling, I'd say to the family or the partner, I'd say, if they start talking about the past or the future, said, do this as they start very loud as you can, said, do that. They said, they'll do this and jump. I said, you'll snap them right out the moment and say, no, don't talk about it until you're healthy to talk about it. What are you doing now? Where are we? Describe the room. Describe the items in the room. Bobby, it's an amazing system. It just... And
yeah, right. Because I'm hearing that. I've got to go and see another psychiatrist every couple of minutes. People know the sports test. I'm hearing that. It's like the biggest bang I've ever heard. I took my family dog out, my mum's best friend. It sounds daft. My mum called her daughter. I took her out and she got up for a car 16 months ago. And right in front of my eyes, and the noise. So that's funny. That's when you've just said that bang. That's what I'm actually hearing. So when I'm sitting watching the TV, as my mum's, I'll tell you, I can't just go to sleep like I've got to put the TV on with background noise because everything like I wake up sweating, soaking, bad dreams, and then I'm hearing that bang. Were you witnessing a family dog getting killed as well? So yeah,
you just nice. See, that's what you've got to do, Bobby, and just say to yourself, when you're it's people learn to cope. There's no magic solution. There's no magic one that says, oh, guess what? All your sadness, all your problems will disappear. And it's like, the way you said your mama's bored and she might get depressed because she's bored with it. Guess what? That's a natural human response to a situation around you. Like being angry within constraints and normality and getting depressed is a normal human response. It only becomes a problem when it's disabilitating and it affects your life really negatively and those around you. That's when it becomes a problem. But always put it in perspective. And if your mama or anyone else says, oh, I'm bored, so, well, of course you will, but until you do something, you will be bored. Sometimes you have to be direct with people and say, you will be bored until guess what? You do something. And I can't do it for you. Do it yourself. Because if you do everything for someone, and this happens with parents, which I was said before, you'll get a parent who does everything, especially your mother, does everything for the son. And then you hear, I don't know how's he going to cope when I'm not here? How's he going to cope? And I always used to say the same thing. I'd say, he'll have to cope. He'll have to cope. But it would have been a hell of a lot easier if you trained him to cope on his own. And I don't care what anyone says. This sounds so harsh. Bobby, but I think this is the ideal way.
And I'm 32 years of age, and it's embarrassing to say this. Do you know I can't cook a meal? I've been institutionalised care systems. I cannot cook.
Well, that's what you've got to start learning to do. Force yourself to learn to do it. But I say 18, There's the door. I want you out when you're 18. That's what I think, Paige. Get out. Go on, get out. I'll be here for support for you, but get out that door and lead your life and do your life, because you're flying the nest. And that's the way the natural order things should be. And people have to get out there and do it. But when you're saying about this cooking and coping, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's what you've got to concentrate on now. You've got to be able to do all those kind of things. Actually get your mama to help you, and then she won't be bored because she'll have to train you all those things that you're supposed to. Because don't forget, you help your mama, you help your papa, but the return is you get help. It's not a one-way deal. It's not The child isn't brought into the world to look after and the parent, that's for sure, right? It's the other way around. But again, you're a fully fledged man now, so they don't have to look after you essentially. But you make it a pro quid pro. In other words, your mama can stop being bored by helping you learn how to cook or whatever, or do something, and that's how you do it. But definitely, yeah, it's the situation. And I'll say to this, anyone out there that's oh, my child can do anything for your child, that's not showing your child love. It's not. It's selfishness on the parent's side, because it's like cuddles. It's you getting the love and you're feeling the love. No, you have to be really straightforward and say, no, guess what? In your best interest, you'll do this. You'll have to learn to cope on your own. And parents do it. They say, right, do the washing up, do the drying, clean your room up, and make sure you clean your room, clean here up, because they're getting them used to the fact that when they grow up, and especially do it with your sons. Look, gone are the days when you could rely on women to look after your sons. It's not going to happen now. It's equal now. Both have got to do it. But that's one good thing you do, Bobby. There's two, and do things with your mama. But if you get the response on board, say, well, what do you want me to do about that? Unless you're willing to meet me halfway, we can't do anything about that. And do something, learn something, or, or even together go over, the past, but in a positive way. Talk about it in a
I wrote my life story for prison, and like when I've been doing big stretches. So I'm gonna at that at least at one point, and that goes into detail, horrific detail.
Yeah. Well, that's cathartic as well, Bobby. That's
one
very cathartic.
Story was, it was going to the park. It was 3.5 psychiatrist. And I've got this note down. I remember it. It's crazy. It was things when I was 2 and a bit and that. And we were going to the park. I'll just say next. There was a man jogging going past. This person was very protective over my mum because she was a beautiful lady years ago. She still is. So he's braked. He was going about 45, 50. He's braked. And I remember me in my car seat going forward and got a bit of whiplash. I must have blah, blah, blah. And he's grabbed her by the hair and started punching her. The blood was off. They were going out the windows and on the subwoof and that. And he turned around and went, laugh at your mum. And got me to laugh. And I'm going, ha, 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 ha. I remember like it was yesterday. And it's like, what? That's that one.
Oh, you can get some same things. Carol's just said something here. Oh no, my kids are still home at 25 and 34. They have a great life, good jobs, own property that they rent out. It's not a problem, Carol, as long as if anything happens to you, they can stand on their own 2 feet. But mollycoddled children are children, stay children, let's put it that way. And they usually go looking for someone who will take care of them, and that's where the problem, when the parents not there, oh, need someone to take care of me and all that. So it's that's nothing. And any relationship, my advice is with any partner is that you have to be on an equal footing. In other words, you're not relying on that person. It can be comforting to rely on someone. And same with friendship, Bobby. I have strict rules with friendship. My rule is, if any of my friends, and they know this, they come to me for advice and they'll ask me for advice. Now, it's up to them whether they take it or not. I'll say, well, I think unless it's relationship advice. Say no, don't come to me with your relationship problems, because I'm not having your partner knocking on the door saying, "Yeah, you split us up." I'm not having that, so I avoid that. But other problems and stuff, they know the rule is either they act on what I'm saying, or they don't, which is their choice, and I don't take offense if they don't take my advice. That's up to them. But if they do completely the opposite, don't come back to me going on about it. I don't want to know. You were told what my view was. It was your right to not do that. But I'm not there as your moaning board, because that's not why I was put on this planet. And it can have a negative effect as well. If you've got someone who always be aware of this, Bobby, because what can happen is misery makes good friends with misery and comforts itself. In other words, we attract to ourselves what we give out. Yeah, so if you're like down all the time, the chance are you'll attract someone the same. And all that happens then is you're not only feeling miserable yourself because of your own problems, you've got their bleeding problems on your shoulders as well, and that makes it even worse. So if you're feeling sad or miserable, I call them Job's comforters. I can't stand them. Oh, I can't stand them.
And what is this, yeah? When I'm happy, I'm sad. But see, when I'm sad, I'm happy. How is that? And see, when I wake up and I'm happy, I'm sad. But when I'm sad, the psychiatrist not can answer it. When I'm happy, I'm sad. It's weird.
If I'm getting you right, what you're saying, you can find solace or joy in actual feeling sad. Because I tell you why it is. It's because to me, this is what I think it is. Because I've had that way, I felt sad, and some way it's given me a boost and rejuvenated me for some reason. I think it's a very, very mild form of self-harm. In other words, because you're feeling sad, it reminds you you're alive. It's like, oh, I'm a feeling human being. In other words, your mum she's bored. Yeah. And she's most probably feeling like there's something there. Well, she suddenly feels sad. It can suddenly get that feeling, oh, I'm alive. And in other words, it sounds straight. It's so difficult to put into words, but I know what you're talking about. In other words, being sad can be a comfort. And people will know, someone will know in the chat what I'm talking about. It's a comfort. And that's but I think that is, if you were to deep down into it, it's a form of, I'd say, without physically doing it, self-harm. And you know the way people can self-sabotage as well? They'll act in a way that will bring something bad to the door or a bad reaction from people, and they'll act that way purposely, but not consciously. It's like they want to suffer. They want a negative, because we're complex, we're very complex creatures, and emotions are all wrapped up. So yeah, I can understand that fully. It's not a bad thing you're talking about, as long as it's kept within certain bounds. But I think it's a form of, you're reminding yourself that you're alive. Like people who cut themselves, they say they do it, and I'll tell you something about this cutting yourself, which will shock you. It shocks most people. Cutting themselves, they say that's the only way they can remind themselves that they're still, but it's taken that sadness thing that you've just said, sadness and happiness, but taking it to a much deeper level, much deeper, more serious level. But did you know, right, people who obsessively get tattoos are thought, a psychologist is saying, are self-harm. You know, when they can't stop.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've never heard that before. But that makes sense. Yeah.
They get addicted. I'm not talking about sending people with tattoos that you've just got them because you think they're pretty. That's one thing. But when you've got them all and you want that pain, And funny enough, the man whose name no one likes mentioning, Decker Hecke, right? I remember him once saying that, when he had that fight with Danny Christie, and he wants another fight because it made him feel good. Getting punched and all that.
That's what happened to me with Ben Hart. I says to people, I'm not a self-harmer when my brother passed away, but I want Ben to really hurt me if he's this fighter. And I was buzzing after it. People in Marine will tell you I was meant to get right to the hospital, but that's a different story. I never, but I should have been concussed, but I liked it, enjoyed it.
Exactly. It's
It's so
self-harm.
stupid. Yeah.
What it is, your emotions, and this is what we'll get back to now, because of what you experienced, child, because that raw emotion has been stored up, and you've never, and also you can't, when you're in that situation, you're the product of the situation. You can't appreciate fully what's happened or what's gone on. You're just basically, it's your normal. See, some of the things you've experienced, Bobby, will be your normal, and you won't even know that it was strange or it was bad or what happened. That will be your normal. It will, someone on the outside will say that's wrong. So you've got all these numb feelings, like you were saying. You wake up screaming because you're unconscious. Your mind is then ready to run free. What you're holding back during the daytime waking hours, when you're asleep, you can't hold it back. It comes through. So when you get punched and all that, it's numbing those feelings. You've got something else to concentrate on. And a classic example of that, if anyone wants to try this, if you've got a pain, not a really bad pain, say you've got an ache in your arm, or you've got an ache anywhere in your head, start concentrating fully on your feet, or put your foot on something that makes pressure and can hurt a bit. Then you'll forget about your arm. See what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you getting punched is stopping your emotions, and it's something inside you doesn't want it. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because what I'm also really wary of and I don't like is people going into what you can call regressional therapy, where they're going back to the pain, going back to the situation and trying to relive it. Sometimes, Bobby, the past is best left where it is, and the body knows better. And it's not letting you remember it for a good reason, because you can't cope with it. And you usually know what situation it is, because you'll suddenly get tired all the time. Your body will want to shut down and make you go to sleep.
I've been like that recently. Tired all the time. I'm going through. I don't know.
What it is when you're tired, that's the brain saying something. And that's why I say you need to get to a doctor and start demanding the therapy that you need.
Yeah, I'm on medication and stuff like that, and I'm getting the right treatment. But yeah, I think I've been left a wee bit too long. I've had all these problems. Then my brother, then my dad's mentally not well, so it's like it's not his fault. But I might, after this, I mean, get a phone call. You could be phoning and saying there's 10 people at your store with masks and that on, and I've got to jump in a taxi, and that's just putting me in a situation where I'm already feeling down with it all, and it's like there's a hospital, I'm taking them back, and it's like I need to sort myself out. I'm getting there, brilliant progress, but I've got to look. I want to look after my mum for what she's been through, and then my dad's mentally not. So we'll do it. It's like there's no help in place.
What about what you've been through? That's what I'm not. That's what you've missed out. There's a link here. You're worrying about your mama. You're worrying about your pap. I'm not saying that it's not right to worry about them. Of course, you love them. But what I'm saying is, what I'm not hearing is what Bobby needs, what Bobby has to get, and that's the first essential. Look, I'm telling you now, unless you're strong, you know, help to anyone else. In other words, you can't be. Can you imagine? Let's say a firefighter. Can you imagine a firefighter that was scared of fire? They'd be useless. Or you had a police officer who was frightened of the dark. They'd be useless. In other words, when you're strong and you can stand up and you can say, I can deal with this situation. And I'm not talking about, none of us are ever perfect. You'll know this. Get this idea out of your head, people, of this. Oh, everything's fine. Everything's wonderful. My life is wonderful. I'm skipping through the tulips. Never happens. It doesn't happen. And being human beings, we're always going to have dips and highs and whatever. But you need to start getting yourself in order and putting yourself first, because Bobby writes also this personal responsibility here on your mama and your papa's side. They also, where you're responsible for your life now, you're an adult, they're responsible for theirs. And it's a bonus if they've got a child who cares about them. That's a bonus. It's not a guarantee, and it's not anything that they can demand or expect, and I'm not saying that they are demanding or expecting that, but you've got to put it in perspective. You come first, then you can even be better with your parents or anyone else, not just parents, anyone else. You get better with it, but always put yourself. Now, this was a cognitive. I've just heard someone saying cognitive behavioral therapy, get an elastic band around your wrist and snap it if you have ages. I've heard of that before. It's like the tapping as well. You can do this tapping, and it can make you. Some people it works with, some people it's not so good with. But it's not so. It's not even as in depth with that, Bobby. With you, I think what is, you're in a situation now where you're wanting to show love to your parents, but you've also got your own issues. You can do both, but you've got to have the support and backup. You've got to have your time. And let's say you start with, look, right, you're bored. Well, guess what? You help me do this, then you won't be bored. That way. If your dad's getting people, why are people calling at your dad's house? What would they have a reason for doing that for?
No, they're not. That's not really happening. But he's
imagining. I get you.
Yeah. So he's going to be saying that, and when I'm getting there's no one there, and he really believes that they're there, and there's people in the
I get you.
Yeah,
I was having this image of you going
now
down there with all these men.
No, he'll probably be in his house with the curtain shut and thinking about on the floor, and there's no one there. He's been in.
I get you.
Yeah, no, it's not really happening. No, not violence. No, he thinks that.
I had this horrible vision of you going down there to challenge these men in mass.
No, they don't exist. No.
Oh, I get you. So
it's like these people don't exist.
He's got paranoid delusions.
Yeah, it's happened from my big brother passed away in December. Yeah, it's really bad, phoning me constantly, and I was training for Ben, and just even now when he's back up the hospital, he's went back like that, and it's a shame. But he really believes that there's people.
Oh, that's horrible.
He's bought his spy hole. Think people are spying on him through the spy hole and the letterbox. He's put cardboard boxes over it, and he's saying he's saying he's been saying he's commit suicide every day and jump off the bridge, and the hospital and taking him back.
How often does this happen during the week? Does he have these episodes?
Look, does this happen? He was phoning me, my brother Dan. He phones us on a daily basis, 5 to 10. My wee brother says he had 26 missed calls from him.
And he's not getting the help?
He's just up the hospital, the curfew, about a month and a bit ago, and they've came back, all that. So, my wee brothers took him up, my other brother. They're not taking him back just now. I don't know why. He's really bad. He thinks that every car and taxi that goes by, and they're all for him, and they're all in it together. And very scary. I'm getting woke up, and
that's a completely different scenario then, because when you've got someone who's suffering from paranoid delusions, you just can't. You can't just turn around and go, deal with it yourself. There's no way. It sounds like he really needs serious help if that's happening, and he should be getting it. So I understand that, and I'd like to have an answer for that or give advice for that, how you cope with it, but you can't really. That's a situation you're not going to be able to maneuver around. You either go down there and say, here we are, you're okay, and that's all you can do. And especially
every day, about a couple of times a day, 5 times a day, and I tell him, and the next 10 minutes when I'm back home, it's get a taxi, son. I need to jump in a taxi and go back down. And I'm like, there's no one there, but in his mind there is, so I've got to go down because he's scared, and it's like listening to a horror, like for some of the messages he leaves us, and it's scary, man, really scary.
Well, that's it. Well, he'll be terrified, and that's it. That's the fear factor, absolutely terrified. And by the way it sounds, he needs, you're not talking about he needs therapy, he needs prolonged help and care, because that's something, what it sounds like that. Is he taking medication, Bobby? Have they diagnosed him with anything?
I think they released him on something for 2 weeks only, but they're on about giving him an injection. But my wee brother Dylan's his carer, and he was on the phone to me. He's worried, and he's told the hospital in Dundee this that my dad's going to end up killing an old woman. Not that he's at the N word or whatever, but with his illusions, he's going to think she's
That
in with and they've told the hospital this. And what happens if he kills an old man or woman and he streaks? It's all old people, and we've been telling them like he needs put all the family he needs back in. He's spraying shaving foam like all over his door to hide the spy hole and putting cardboard over the letterbox and the keyhole thing, and they're all looking in and they're in the trees across the road. About 100 and whatever thingy trees that it would be impossible and to even get up the trees, never mind. And people wouldn't hide in the trees and spy on you and stuff like that for nothing.
It sounds like he's schizophrenic. And if he's schizophrenic, he really needs help and he needs medication. You can't. That's something that counselling won't bleed well even.
Well, this has just started, as you say, from I lost my wee brother. It's just bang, it just started in December.
He needs to be really looked at because it's.
And he's killed himself twice and being revived a couple of months ago with drugs.
He needs medication. He needs to see a psychiatrist, a medical psychiatrist. Well, they're all medical, aren't they? The psychiatrist, but he doesn't need to counsel. He needs a psychiatric assessment. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm saying what it sounds like to me. And this is the problem with it. If they're put on medication, it can help. And that's a tragic thing. So they could put him on the right, as long as he keeps on taking the medication, because I don't know how many times people get put on medication and they do have schizophrenic thoughts or personality disorder. And then they think, oh, I'm better, and they come off them. So the only job you'd have then is making sure he takes that bleeding medicine and watch him take it in front of you. But all that I can suggest, I mean, I'm not saying that's what he's got, but that is not a situation that can be left just to develop, and he needs something doing. And you need to get in touch, if you can, with the medical service and say, look, this is a serious situation and you can't be there all the time for him. He needs looking at. And December is a long time to have something like that sorted out. A long, long time. It sounds quick. Oh, only last December. But we're more than halfway through the year now.
He has been in twice, and 3 times he was in when he tried to commit suicide 2 times in the one day. The section done. He got out. He went off his head again. The section done through the Ben Hatchett fight, and then I got back. I went to see him where he lives, going to the hospital to get my injury sorted out. He's only been out a month and a bit or something like that, and it's came back. So, and we've told him that he's going to end up killing someone. Because of these illusions and these things, if an old woman or man, an old age pensioners about, and he thinks that because he thinks that there's a thing going on and that everybody's involved. So if he kills someone, which my family have been telling him, it's on record. I'm saying to you, I'm just speaking to you. It's not going to end well.
But the thing, definitely, you've got to get that sorted out. But the thing is, have they actually sat you down and his doctor or anyone and told you what the course of action is and what they think's going on here? Or you just totally in the dark? You need that sorting out. You can
I was in camp for Ben Hatchett, my wee brother who cares for him. He was dealing with that because I was in camp, so I was like getting phone calls and I had to switch my phone off. As sad as it sounds, my wee brother dealt with everything and kept saying, leave Bobby alone. He's resting for the Ben Hatchett fight, he's training. But behind the scenes, I was going down at 1 a.m, getting woke up 2 o'clock when he was waiting to commit suicide with ropes. It was crazy. People don't know that, but that's the truth.
Yeah, he needs. I tell you now, Bobby, that's something you can't cure. Your mama can't cure. He can't cure. He needs. They need to take total action on it. But sometimes, you might find out that they have put in a plan there, and he's not following the plan. Because I know that personally, that happened to someone to me.
Right. That's what me and my wee brother's thinking. Why haven't they taken him back? Did he do something when he was in the last time with Clark?
They most probably might be.
Yeah,
and he's
I've
not
seen it.
taking it, and this is it, and he's got to get reality check. Because I know someone who was very close to me who was going for therapy, and they'd had a tumor on the brain which affected the moods and all this. They ended up taking their own life, and when his wife asked the doctor, said, "Well, this for 2 years is having this therapy and this medication, and it was not working." The doctor said he turned up once and never turned up again. He'd actually go out, and I remember that he'd go out. Oh, I've got me meeting. He wasn't going, and that's why. So most probably he might be getting that treatment because I can't see them leaving him like that and not treating him. But he's not taking it now. That's the fact, Bobby, that he's not, doing it. He needs to be told, do it, and you need to see him doing it, taking his medication. And if he doesn't, it's just on the phone. Look, he needs taken into an unit again. Sadly, sometimes that's the only safe place for someone, and you need to do it. But try to find out, because you will have, if someone's mentally impaired, you can not power of attorney. What's it called? Someone in the chat will know when you actually speak up for someone. It's like you can be told personal details.
Yeah, voicing for the person. Yeah, my wee brother is the only person I believe that would get that. But she's the next of them. Yeah.
Tell him to find out from the doctor, has he been given treatment? Because it might be a fact that he has, but he's that ill. He doesn't know, because there's nothing. But if he's living on his own and it's left up to him.
Sorry, he mentioned that he's not had his medication for 3 weeks on the phone, and this is where you're going to need to get the medication. So yeah, he's got it, but he was on about it. I remember he's just saying that there, and he did say something about. No, sorry, they went up to his house to check on him, saying he'd been at the pharmacy to pick his heart tablets up and what. So I don't know if the mental institution hospital have gave him any, and because I asked him that, he went, I'm not sure, he doesn't know himself. So that's 3 weeks of treatment. And the pharmacy, if he has been put on treatment.
Just get that's essential. Get that sorted out. Make sure that you know what's going on. It might not be him and that's he won't be at fault anyway, because if he's on his own and he's got tablets or whatever, you don't. And anyway, it's dangerous, isn't it? If he's suicidal as well, having tablets around him. But just get that sorted out, and that's all you can do, Bobby. But
I can't do anything. It's 7 o'clock now. I can't do nothing. I had to go after 7 o'clock, and the tag box phone doesn't matter. And I explained that he was about to commit suicide. So my lawyer thingy, and I got the strike. It was only a couple of hours. So yeah, there's nothing I can do after 7 o'clock. But my wee brother's at the bottom of the road from him. So just hope. But it's not a way to live a life. My mum doesn't like my dad for the past, but seeing this. She's forgave him for the past, and she thinks it's a shame. He obviously says she's strong, and she's like, I can't believe that I used to hate him much, and now I'm feeling sorry for him.
It's not nice. It's not good. It's distressing. It is, but it's one of those things. That's what's happening, and the situation has to be faced as it is. But what I'd say to you is, just get your brother to look into it and find out for sure what's going on here. But because it might be, as say, he's not realizing that he's got to take his medication or whatever. He's getting confused, which is so easy. Yeah. So easy to do that. But what I'll do is I'll wind it up now, Bobby, and I want to invite you on again to have another talk sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and people in the excuse me, people in the chat have been so positive. So any last thoughts you want to give before we close down? Any last messages to people or anything about the effects of domestic violence and how they can offer support to people who've been through it?
The minute domestic abuse or violence is happening in a household and there's children involved, the children, I don't care what anyone says. I know a lot of people like myself being through the care system. Your children will end up on drugs, on alcohol, and out of prison, committing crime at a very, very young age. like myself, and it will just lead to deaths. What's been happening in my life all my days: friends committing suicide, family committing suicide, family dying, people dying every day on a daily basis. You're not going to get education. That's the most important thing. Your education. Definitely, that's what I missed greatly in my education. I haven't even got an exam or a pre onto my name. Nothing to my name. So I got sort of the system tried, but I don't. The things that I was seeing being closed doors and that, I just couldn't concentrate.
You
So
didn't have, Bobby,
yeah,
you didn't have the support in the
no,
household for it. And this is why people can hear me, and anyone that comes into my life, you've heard me in full banging on. Education is everything. Education is absolutely everything. And it was prized in my household. You had to attend to us. That was the main thing. There's no excuses. You had to attend to your education and all that. And when you've got someone who's educated, I'm telling you, they can communicate better, they can sort things out better. That's it. So you're always education, and it seems to be a trendy thing, you know. Well, I'll just tell this quickly because I think it's important. I had an aunt, and she could hardly read or write. She never had an education, proper education or anything. She was married into the family. She had to bring up her granddaughters, and I'm telling you now, she never had problems with education over her own children. But she, her granddaughter, she said, you know what? She said, I can't spell or do it myself. She'd make sure she'd take her to the library. She'd make sure she'd take her here. She'd get her these books, that books. So not being educated yourself as a parent is no excuse. You can still say and take the child where they need to go to get education. But I can't stress enough, people, education, and it's not a matter of being able to do your 3 R's, spell, write, read. It's developing a mind that can get by in life and appreciate life and communication. That's it. And you can tell because you hear people, the ones that are kicking off on YouTube and all that, you can tell by the way they talk. They're like, and it's like, you know, you've never paid attention to school, but I'm glad that you entered it on that. Definitely education is 100%.
yeah, and quickly before I go, I see people, and they're all in big fancy cars and that, and they're my friends, and I'm thinking they had a perfect household, meaning their mum and dad's they stuck to their education.
Yeah.
Look at that life compared to a broken home like me, 9-year-old. I was the boys, and what have I got to my name compared to these boys? And I think domestic abuse at any sort of level, shouting and that kid, more likely kids, whatever, will turn out. Unfortunately, I don't think
it definitely will. It's only natural. It will. I mean, that's it, natural, and that's what happens. Because I used to get still get it all the time. Oh, look, you were privileged. You were sent to ballet school and all this, as a child, and you went through all that. You were privileged, but it's like actually, if you look at it, and I'm not moaning, Bobby, because for the time my career lasted, I loved it. Look back, it was difficult, but my God. Privilege, just try doing it sometimes. It's like being an athlete, you have to be spot on, you don't have any time off. So it was hardly privileged in the sense, you know, but people think that. But definitely, education is absolutely everything. And as you say, it gives people independence, and you don't have to be educated yourself, and just watch how you speak, what you're doing around children, because they'll pick it up. But we'll talk about that some other time as well, about when they have the perfect environment and it still goes all right, because which you can do. But anyway, Bobby, God bless you, and thank you for that, and you take care. And to everyone in the chat,
God bless everyone. Thank you.